Well, we're finally in the home stretch. Welcome to episode 13 of the Run for the Million preview here on Up for Discussion. Today's highlight is a personal favorite of mine, Francesco Martinotti, and the horse I think he's going to show, which is Spooks Got a Tinsel. A Spooks Got a Gun out of Tinsel Tiara, who he showed for owner Lance Griffith last year in the shootout to get qualified and marked 227.5. That'll be the run we're watching here in just a moment. But I want to talk about this horse because this one was a surprise for me. He came out of nowhere to me because he had been Lance's non-pro horse up to this point. And Francesco had shown him once in a while, but this was his coming out party as an open horse and as a high-level open horse. And you have to understand, he was only 4 years old when the run we're about to watch happened. He's 5 this year. He's one of the several 5-year-olds getting shown in the million this year. And that makes an interesting dynamic. But, as we'll see, a horse that comes through Francesco's program is very, very strong and very capable. So let's jump into that run, take a look at what we've got, and I'll be back in just a minute after we watch that run to give you my closing thoughts. As I mentioned, this is last year's shootout, the one run that qualified Francesco and Spooks Got a Tinsel for the run for the million. And right away you're going to see something I'm making a very common thing with most of my European riders is they have horses that just attack that ground. Now King here, as Spooks Got a Tinsel is known in the barn, is very, very famous for how hard he goes to the ground and how hard he stops. But I want you to notice as well, he's very quick-footed in that backup and almost gives himself a little more edge because of his athleticism going backwards. Now in the turns, as with almost every horse we've seen, they all have their own unique styles. This horse has a style that almost pulls himself through a turn. He gets a little more curl to him, and he almost pulls himself with that inside foot and then follows through with that outside foot as he turns. It's very different, but the same type of deal both ways. And when you watch him go left here, you'll see he can be quick-footed and do all that, but he's going to get a little more curl than a lot of these horses. But if you really watch from shoulder to tail, he's still very square and does not leave a body part behind. Doesn't leave anything hanging out of that box, so to speak. So even though it's a different style, it's still a very effective thing you want to look for in the way this horse turns. And as this horse has matured and turned and been rode a little more in the open with Francesco, the turnaround has only gotten stronger. Now this is the spot that I want to bring a point to that will show off the difference between last year at this time and this year now. This horse was a little greener here. He's a 4-year-old, and at this point, I don't know if he'd ever run pattern 9. I could be wrong about that, but I don't know. I don't know what the schedule was for him before this. I just remember Lance had been showing a lot in the non-pro. And right there, he just makes the slightest little hiccup of, okay, where am I going? And Francesco closes his hand, helps him, and that horse says, okay, I know I want to do this. That's one of the best things to see in a horse that young, is that willingness and that want to get in there and do the right thing. That takes everything that we see here, good, bad, indifferent, whatever you want to call it. This is all good, by the way. But every little detail, including that big, small, slow shutdown right there on the lead change, everything about that makes you want to like this horse because he is trying to find the right answers every single time Francesco asks a question. And for the most part, he does. Obviously, he marked 227 here. But I don't want to drill that point, but it is so, even a horse there that goes and says, oh, I don't know where I'm going, and then as soon as he gets some help, he's right there with you. That's the type of horse you can trust to go make a big run like this. Great finish on this lead change here. He's going to make it easy, smooth, and we're going to go on to the next maneuvers, which is his strength. And this first stop, you're going to see exactly the reason why Francesco's choosing this horse as one of his strongest in the field. And like I said, I don't know he's choosing this horse. I'm guessing this is his choice for this year with some of the things he's said in the past in the media. But when you got one that stops like that, why would you choose? It makes your choice very simple. He rolls back good, but it's his stop. He is so good in the front feet. He's so good through the loin. He's so good through the back, and he's so good in his hock. And watch this one. This one's the exact same thing, just on the other lead. He runs good. He stops huge. Those front feet are great. He looks like he almost stands on his front feet, and he's still smooth as can be. This is the kind of stuff you love to see. And when you got a horse that is a minimum +1 stopper, like this one looks to be, at least in this pattern, like, what else do you want? What else do you need? And this is why it's just a great opportunity for Francesco to be one of the guys who's being forgotten about in this larger field this year. And he is so underappreciated as an up and coming trainer. And like last year, he made the run of his life on Smoke and Trash, and I think this horse has the potential to make every bit as good of a run, especially with that strong stop. Now you can see where I'm a big fan of this horse, especially in those dynamic stops that he has that is somewhat become a trademark of Francesco's program. Also, the maturity level has changed in the last year as we've seen this horse only get better since then in terms of the way he circles and the way he turns around. I don't have much more to finish on here, but I think Francesco could be one of the dark horses to be considered in this deal and is a very strong candidate, especially with this horse, to be right there at the upper level of the pack. And so, with that, when I'm there in Vegas, I'll be cheering for Francesco just like a lot of you will, and he's going to make a heck of a run, I'm sure. So, please, as usual, like, comment, share, subscribe, and follow the channel. I got 4 more, and if you're counting, you probably know who the last 4 are. So tomorrow we'll jump into one of what I consider the big 3 for this year. So until then, I'll see you tomorrow, and thank you for watching.